"Get out! We don't serve your kind here." The words snapped through the air like a whip. The hallway went dead silent. Lockers stopped slamming. Conversations stopped mid-whisper. Every eye turned to the boy, standing frozen. A quiet storm. Behind his steady gaze, the fluorescent lights overhead flickered, casting uneven shadows along the cold linoleum floor. The echo of distant footsteps faded as the boy's breath steadied, each inhale deliberate. The chill in the air felt heavier now, as if the walls themselves recoiled from the weight of that single, hateful command. The principal's eyes locked onto him, sharp and unblinking. There was no hesitation in that gaze, only a cold entitlement that had been built over years of unquestioned power. His lips curled slightly in contempt, as if punishing this boy was nothing more than routine. "I don't have time for your excuses," he said, voice low but hard. "You're suspended. Get out." The boy didn't move, didn't speak, but his silence roared louder than any protest. The hallway seemed to hold its breath as he stepped forward, not with anger, but with quiet strength. His eyes met the principal's, calm and unyielding, refusing to show the fracture beneath the surface. The principal reached out and ripped the boy's science project from his hands, the pages tearing with a sound like breaking bones. The paper fluttered, a broken bird caught in the stale air. The boy watched unmoving as the fragments of his hard work scattered across the floor. Finally, his voice broke the silence, calm, sharp, impossible to ignore. "You just suspended. The future you refuse to understand." The principal's lips twitched, but he said nothing. Around them, the room seemed to shift. The students, once frozen, began to exchange glances filled with something new. Confusion, respect, a whisper. Of doubt. They thought he was just trouble. They had no idea who he really was. A mind quietly breaking through walls, built too high to see past. The project was ready weeks ago. I stayed late every night running the simulations, making sure every detail was perfect, but no one noticed. They handed the award to someone else. I asked why my name wasn't even mentioned. The answer was silence, empty nods, faces turned away. It felt like I was invisible in my own school. I wasn't the only one, but I was the loudest in my silence. You don't understand how it feels, do you? To be good enough to win, but never enough to be seen. They watch you closely, but only to find a mistake. When you excel, it's a threat. So they look the other way, whisper behind your back, and let your work disappear. In the halls, the whispers float like smoke. He's always trying to be better. Why does he even bother? You know how it is. Those words don't hit loud, they hit deep. Every glance, every avoided eye, every small exclusion piles up. It's not loud racism, but a quiet wall that surrounds you, and it's hard to break. I heard the project was lost. No one can explain how. Maybe someone tossed it out. Maybe it was ignored on purpose. Pages torn, files deleted, ideas forgotten. You try to fight, but the system protects itself. It's a fortress built to keep people like me out. And the guardians of that fortress, they pretend not to see. The reporter said it best. He's been fighting alone. No cameras, no crowd, just one boy against a school that never really wanted him here. I can't blame anyone who walks away. The weight is too heavy and the battle too long. But I'm still here, still trying. An investigator sat across the desk, hesitating. "There's something wrong with the way this was handled," she said quietly. But her voice cracked. She knew the power protecting the principal was stronger than any report or rule. It's easier to close your eyes, to look away, to pretend. Countless others suffered in silence. Teachers who saw, students who knew, but feared the consequences. Their stories were swallowed, their pain muted. Institutional racism isn't loud. It hides in whispers, in overlooked complaints, in the quiet nods that say, "Let it go." Then one teacher finally spoke. "We were wrong all along." Those words shook the walls. It wasn't a shout but a tremor, a slow break in the silence. It gave others courage, sparked hope. Maybe change could start here. The video surfaced online, and the world saw what the school tried to hide. The suspension wasn't just discipline, it was injustice caught on camera. People shared it, talked about it. The anger was quiet at first, simmering under polite conversations, growing louder each day. The principal's confidence began to crack. Behind closed doors, he replayed every moment. Doubt seeped in. Allies pulled away. The fortress was showing its cracks, fragile and exposed. Neighbors stopped making eye contact. Students whispered less. The staff avoided the principal's gaze. Slowly, the support faded, replaced by uncertain silence and hesitant distance. Moved like a chess player, quiet and deliberate. Every small step was calculated. Every silence held meaning. The system underestimated patience, but I knew how to wait, how to strike without noise. Peers who once ignored me started to question. I saw it in their eyes, guilt, confusion, and something new, awareness. It was the beginning of their own reckoning. The back doors of the institution were guarded fiercely, memos buried in files, hush money offered in shadows, bureaucrats shielding those above. Corruption was the armor of privilege. At home, the weight of suspension fell on my family. Their smiles were softer, their words gentler. They carried the hurt in whispered prayers and quiet nights. Their strength became mine. Then someone spoke up, a community leader whose voice was calm but strong. Their support was a beacon, lighting the path for others to follow. It was a whisper that grew into a roar of hope. The room was packed, faces stiff, eyes darting between one another, breaths held like a silent prayer. Cameras blinked incessantly, their flashes cutting through the heavy air. Everyone waited, the weight of expectation pressing down like a storm ready to break. No one spoke. The quiet hummed louder than any voice. "I'm here to speak the truth," he began, voice steady but carrying the depth of countless battles. My suspension wasn't about discipline. A pause, the kind that lets silence stretch long enough to hold every eye. It was about fear, fear of what I represent. Each word fell like a stone in still water, ripples spreading unseen, but felt by all. The principal shifted uneasily. "We acted on the best information available," he said, voice tight, lacking conviction. His eyes flicked away, refusing to meet the calm determination across the room. Procedures were followed. But the confidence was cracking, subtle, tremors betraying a fortress of arrogance slowly crumbling. A reporter, barely whispering to her camera crew, murmured, "Watch him dismantle the system with words alone." Her voice, low and steady, captured the moment's gravity. The exchange wasn't just about testimony, it was a chess game. A battle of wills caught between glances, unspoken accusations, and guarded expressions. Murmurs began to rise, quiet. At first, then growing. Skepticism faded into nods of understanding. Silent applause blossomed behind closed lips. The community held its breath and then exhaled, shifting as collective belief softened, opening cracks where doubt could grow. A subtle smile crossed the boy's face, barely visible but charged with triumph. It wasn't a victory shouted, but one quietly earned. His dignity stood tall, a beacon in a sea of uncertainty. Years of struggle condensed into that single moment, a silent roar louder than any words. Inside the principal's mind, the unraveling was swift and merciless. Sweat beaded his brow, eyes avoided confrontation. Fingers twitched with tension. Power once wielded with ruthless certainty now slipped like sand through trembling hands. Regret and isolation settled like a cold fog. "My hope," the boy's voice softened, "is that this moment becomes more than just words spoken here today. It's a call for change, for justice, for truth. His plea echoed not just in the room, but in the hearts of those watching, a seed planted in fertile ground. The atmosphere shifted palpably. Hostility gave way to hope. The forum transformed, from a battleground to a place of possibility. Resistance softened into acceptance. For the first time, the promise of equity felt within reach, a fragile but real beginning. The screen glowed softly with the light of countless notifications, tweets, posts, messages flooding in from all corners. The words were raw, full of hurt and hope, anger and resolve. People shared stories, retold the moment they saw the suspension video, and called for change. It wasn't loud protests or angry chants, but a quiet, persistent hum growing beneath the surface of the digital world. The boy's name was on everyone's lips, yet the pain behind it was silent, felt in hearts more than heard aloud. He sat alone in his room, photos spread across the desk, smiling faces from years past, moments when the future seemed wide open and full of promise. His fingers lingered on the worn edges of an old school picture, tracing the contours of a life not yet broken by silence. The weight of absence pressed down on him as he stared at the empty chair he once claimed as his own, a throne lost to those who never understood. The memories swelled quietly, a mixture of grief and quiet strength that neither shouted nor wept. At the school, the chair remained vacant. The classroom buzzed without the energy he brought, a space echoing with what was missing. The walls seemed colder, the desks emptier, as if the very air remembered the injustice. It wasn't just a chair, it was a symbol of potential stifled, of voices pushed aside. The silence in the room carried the weight of systemic failure, invisible but undeniable to anyone willing to look. The principal's office grew emptier by the day. Meetings passed without him, emails went unanswered, and the phone stayed silent. Whispers followed his name, questions without answers, concerns muttered in hallways. His presence faded not with confrontation, but with absence, the quiet retreat of power unraveling without fanfare. Alone behind closed doors, he faced a truth he couldn't escape, his authority slipping like sand through his fingers. One afternoon, in a dimly lit office, the former principal spoke softly to a trusted colleague. "I lost more than a student," he said, voice low and raw. "I lost my integrity." The words hung heavy in the air, a confession that carried the bitter taste of regret. No excuses followed, just the weight of understanding what had been broken and what could never be repaired. Across town, the boy's quiet dignity echoed beyond the courtroom's walls. His calm resilience planted seeds in the minds of those who witnessed his fight, not through anger, but through quiet strength. Justice was not a shout, but a stillness that demanded recognition. His story became a beacon, a slow burning light. For others to follow toward a better future, they tried to write my story for me, he thought, voice silent but strong. But I'm still writing the future. Those words were a promise, a declaration that his journey was far from over. The past would not define him. The future was his to shape. Outside, the first light of dawn crept over the school's roof, casting long shadows that melted into morning gold. It was fragile, uncertain. A new beginning whispered softly to the world. The school stood there, weathered but standing, a symbol of slow change and enduring hope. The day had come to witness, not just an end, but the fragile birth of something better.